It was supposed to be just another court day in downtown São Vicente. The central courthouse bustled with the familiar chaos of legal proceedings, sharp heels clicking over marble floors, murmured conversations between lawyers, and the rustle of files being passed between hands. No one, not even the presiding judge, expected the session to spiral into a historic moment that would ripple through the nation's justice system. Among the people waiting quietly in the gallery was a young mother named Monica Duarte, holding her 3-year-old son, Levi. She dressed him in his favorite navy blue sweater with a cartoon fire truck printed on the chest, the same one he'd insisted on wearing since receiving the matching toy truck for his birthday just days before. Levi, oblivious to the tension around him, pushed the toy gently back and forth on the wooden armrest beside her seat. For him, it was just another place to play. Monica was scheduled to testify in an armed robbery case. 6 months earlier, she had witnessed a holdup at a jewelry store just across the street from her modest flower shop. Since she had no one to care for Levi that morning, she'd pleaded with the court staff to allow her to bring him. After some hesitation, Judge Alvaro Mendez agreed, instructing her to keep the child quiet during testimony. She had promised she would. As the judge organized the day's docket and lawyers conferred at the bench, the courtroom doors opened again, and a group of uniformed officers filed in to take their positions around the room. Their presence was procedural security protocol for cases involving armed suspects. No one batted an eye, except Levi. He stopped pushing his fire truck. His little fingers froze mid-motion, his eyes suddenly fixed on a tall officer in the far corner. Without a word, Levi's toy truck tumbled from his hand and hit the floor with a loud clatter. The room fell into a hush as the toddler slowly raised his arm and, with remarkable focus, pointed at the officer. "There he is," Levi said, his tiny voice ringing out like a bell in the still courtroom. "Mama, it's him." Monica turned to her son, startled and unsure what to make of it. All around her, heads turned toward the officer in question. Sergeant Bruno Lacerdajo's confident posture faltered the moment Levi's words struck the air. His eyes darted toward the judge, then to the gallery, and for a fraction of a second, something changed in his face. Fear. Monica's breath caught in her throat. She glanced at the man Levi had pointed to and noticed the slight bend in his leg as he took a cautious step back. A limp. Her eyes widened. Judge Mendez immediately picked up on the atmosphere shift. "We'll take a short recess," he announced, banging the gavel lightly. "Sergeant Lacerda, I'd like to see you in my chambers, please." As hushed whispers filled the room, Prosecutor Dr. Elias Navarro stepped over to Monica and knelt beside her seat. "Ma'am," he said gently, "do you know why your son pointed at that officer?" "Two don't know," Monica stammered. "Levi's never seen him before. We're just here for my testimony." "Dr. Navarro pressed further. "You witnessed the robbery, correct? Did you see the faces of the suspects?" "No, they wore masks. But one of them," she paused, suddenly pale. "One walked with a limp on the right side." The prosecutor's jaw clenched. "Thank you," he said quietly, and walked briskly toward the hallway, giving a discreet hand signal to security officers. Within seconds, all courthouse exits were quietly locked down. Meanwhile, Sergeant Lacerda was questioned privately. His discomfort grew by the minute. That afternoon, the case file landed on Dr. Navarro's desk. "Give me all the records of every case Lacerda touched over the last 5 years," he ordered. The prosecutor's office turned into a hive of activity overnight. File after file revealed an unsettling pattern. In every robbery involving masked suspects, there was mention of a perpetrator with a limp. In every case, Sergeant Lacerda had been the first officer on the scene. And in each instance, he played a central role in identifying suspects, many of whom had later been convicted despite scant evidence. Monica and Levi were placed in protective custody. The child, too young to comprehend the chaos he had ignited, was given toys and snacks in a secure room. But each time someone mentioned the name Bruno Lacerda, Levi's smile faded, and he turned silent. Dr. Navarro showed Monica the mountain of evidence. "You need to see this," he said gravely. She stared at the police reports robberies with the same modus operandi, each involving masked men and one with a limp. But even more disturbing were financial records recently uncovered massive payments wired to offshore accounts in Lacerda's name, disguised under shell companies. Over the next 48 hours, the investigation snowballed. Victims from earlier cases were contacted. Several identified Lacerda from photos without his uniform. One elderly woman fainted when she saw his picture, whispering, "That's him. I'll never forget those eyes. And that limp." A young officer came forward anonymously. His voice shook as he revealed the scheme. Lacerda had been using his badge to orchestrate and cover up armed robberies. With access to police databases, he would choose high-value targets jewelry shops, elderly residents known to keep cash at home, and then stage the crimes with an accomplice crew. Afterward, he would return in uniform to investigate, often redirecting blame toward others. The media caught wind. "Toddler exposes police crime ring," blared national headlines. News vans crowded outside the courthouse. The judiciary scrambled to respond. Pressed under intense questioning, Lacerda finally confessed on camera. "It started 7 years ago," he said, his voice hollow. "We selected vulnerable people. We used police intel to plan each job. Then we handled the investigations so no one suspected us. 3 senior detectives and a retired judge were implicated. The scheme had corrupted nearly a dozen branches of the justice system." Dr. Navarro, addressing reporters at a tense press conference, called it a betrayal of everything law enforcement stands for. Monica, sitting in the back of the courtroom, held Levi tightly. When he pointed that day, I saw the whole robbery flash before my eyes. I remember the limp. I remember doubting myself, thinking no cop could possibly be involved. Her voice broke. I was wrong. Experts across the country praised Levi's uncanny ability to read subtle facial expressions. "Children are unfiltered," said Dr. Andrea Vasquez, a child psychologist. "Where adults are conditioned to trust uniforms, children rely on instinct." Investigators soon uncovered that Lacerda's operation had laundered nearly $10 million through crypto accounts and fake import-export companies. Over 50 wrongfully convicted individuals were exonerated. Among them was a man named Tomas Bittencourt, who'd spent 4 years in prison for a robbery he didn't commit. "My father died thinking I was guilty," Tomas said tearfully, standing on the courthouse steps. "I was framed by the people who were supposed to protect us." The government moved swiftly. Within months, sweeping reform was implemented under what became known as the Levi Protocol. All officers were now required to wear body cameras. Independent review boards were established to oversee investigations. AI analysis tools were introduced to detect suspicious arrest patterns or case assignments. Levi's photo, his little finger pointing fearlessly, became a national icon, printed on banners and posters beneath the words, "Truth from Innocence." The government redirected the recovered funds to help victims and modernize the justice system. Community outreach centers were created. Law schools studied the case as part of criminal ethics training. Delegations from across Latin America visited São Vicente to study the Levi Protocol. The reform sparked a continent-wide conversation about internal corruption and the blind spots that allowed it to thrive. A memorial was built near the courthouse, not only to honor the victims of Lacerda's crimes, but also to remind the world of a truth once revealed by a child. As the new police oversight center opened downtown, Monica addressed the crowd. "Sometimes," she said, "truth doesn't wear a robe or carry a badge. Sometimes it rides in on a toy fire truck in the hands of a child who just knows what he sees." Levi, now 4 years old, was unaware of the revolution he had inspired. He still played with that same red fire truck, its wheels worn smooth from use. But across a nation, thousands remembered the moment a child saw what no one else dared to look at, and pointed